A flurry of headlines in healthcare tonight as Democrats try to deal with the damage from some of Obamacare's broken promises before these midterms get any closer. Watch as one of the most vulnerable candidates of all, North Carolina Senator Sen Hagan, has to face some tough questions from reporters.
Much has been made about your promise that if you liked your healthcare plan, you can keep it. But what we're still unsure about is exactly when did you learn that that wasn't the case? Because you were on one of the committees that helped write the bill. Is there a specific time frame, a day, a month, a week, that you can narrow it to when you learned that that wasn't going to be the case?
You know, I am sponsoring a bill where if you like that plan, you can keep it on a permanent basis. That is one of the fixes that needs to be made to the Affordable Care Act, and I am supporting that fix.
When did you learn that people wouldn't be able to keep their plans?
You know, it wasn't clear that insurance companies were selling substandard policies.
So was it after the law was written, I guess? Was it after the law was written that you realized this, or did you have any timeline on when you realized this wouldn't be the case?
Well, once again, as I said earlier, it wasn't clear that the insurance companies were selling substandard plans, and then they had to go and cancel that.
So that clears that up. Chris Steyerwalt is here. He's our Fox News digital politics editor. Okay, so you got it? You got it now?
Well, I've got it. Here's a tip. Pro tip. If you are not going to answer those questions, do not hold your press conference close to the exits because the reporters will follow you. They will go with you into the parking lot and say,
it's not like the White
Senator,
House press briefing, you know, where like the president exits stage left and we can't follow him.
Right. This is not Get Smart. You do not like go down into the basement and talk on your shoe. There's no telephone booth getaway. So she's standing out
and we can walk after you.
Exactly. We're standing in the parking lot and would you please explain? And then she didn't. And the one thing here is this should not be a tough question at this point. There needs to be an answer among Democrats at this point. They cannot continue to live in fantasy land. They cannot continue to live in a world in which they say, well, it's a little dicey right now, but it's going to be okay. It's going to be the 1st of March on Saturday. The problems continue to pile up. The disappointments continue to pile up. That's true. But they still haven't addressed the fundamental concern, which is they made a false promise to the American people with this law, and there is going to be a huge electoral consequence to that. And they still haven't figured out what to say.
Now you've come out, and the president has admitted that they've fallen short, that they are falling short right now of their initial numbers that they wanted by the end of open enrollment, which is the end of March, which is 7 million. And in anticipating the failure to reach that goal, you've got Kathleen Sebelius coming out and talking about 7 million was never, that's not, that I don't know where that, well, I'll let you hear it from her.
First of all, 7 million was not the administration. That was a CBO, Congressional Budget Office prediction when the bill was first signed. I'm not quite sure where they even got their numbers.
I'm not quite sure where they even got those numbers. Oh, we do.
Well, I think success looks like at least 7 million people having signed up by the end of March 2014.
Hello, Kathleen. Videotape magic.
But here's the thing. She knows. Here's the reality for her. She is the marked woman inside the administration. When the time comes to take the fall, it's going to be her. Everybody knows it. And at this point, she's sort of grasping at straws. The problem is...
Or denying reality.
Or denying reality. This sort of tendentious thinking, this sort of, I guess we have to say, dishonest talking points about this law pervade the administration. It's not just for Sebelius, who we know is eventually going to be the sin eater on this law and be put on the ice floe and cast back to Kansas. But what about the rest of the administration? What about the president? He throws fake numbers out.
The president
with glee.
The president just tonight, in speaking to his supporters, came out and said, look, we have, 4 million signed up so far. He says, so he urged people to talk to a Republican friend, for example, someone who can't stand Obama, he says, but is basically a nice person. Maybe they just watch, quote, this is the president speaking, the wrong newscast. You know all those folks. An uncle or a cousin you love but comes in with all this information, which is just wrong. Mr. President, we didn't get the 4 Pinocchios over and over and over. We didn't get the lie of the year. That was you.
Well, but look, again, this is this parallel universe in which the president is inviting Democrats to come live. This is going to be okay. And what he has to tell them is basically this. Whatever number that they come out with a month from now and they say it was 4 million, 5 million, 6 million, whatever, they will declare it a great victory, because what they believe underneath is as long as that bailout train rolls to the insurance industry, it's all going to be okay, and they're going to call it a victory. And guess what? The newscast that the president thinks, and it ain't this one, the newscast that the president thinks people ought to be watching will agree with him and say that it's a massive success. So he feels content in doing
Those
that.
newscasts let Kathleen Sebelius say, I'm not quite sure where they even got their numbers, and they don't run the second soundbite. Chris, good to see you.
You bet.
I have no, where on earth, where are they getting this? Like they're just pulling the $7 million out of the, oh,